Okay. I would love to know you on a personal level, so feel free to talk to me at any time. Later, I mean. I hope this topic is not, I think it's very suitable to your ages. How do I know God's will when someone I get to know for marriage? I mean, how do I know that the girl I start to date is the right, is what God's wants, or the man? So in Ephesians 5, St. Paul wrote, "Do not be unwise, but understand the will of the Lord. See that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. See then, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." So, what is the will of God? At the end of the day, God wants us to be saints. His will is our sanctification. And you should abstain from sexual immorality. So we are not just asked to be good people, but we are asked to be saints. And by the way, marriage is one of the very important ways to go to heaven, by the way. I know people can make fun of the idea of marriage, which I don't like, but at the end of the day, that's what we are thriving for, to become saints. What is the will of God? That they all may be one. As you, Father, are in me and I in you, they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you sent me. So the unity is the will of God. And that's, of course, will be also in marriage. So let's just think about dating and how to know the will of God. How do I find my partner in those three categories? And I'm going to spend time in each one. How do I know that God, that this person is from God at the level of the spirit, at the level of my mind? I'm convinced that this girl is good. At the level of the heart, my feelings, are they true or not? So that's what I want to cover today. So how do I choose in a spiritual way? Like any Orthodox answer, if you are not living a good Christian life, it's very difficult for you to ask if this person is from God or not. If you are not praying, if you are not reading the Bible, if you are not repenting, how are you going to know this person is from God or not? It's almost impossible. And that's why sometimes we do something, it's good and bad in the same time. We run to Abuna and we tell him, what do you think of this girl? And what we are doing is basically putting a responsibility on another person, but we know he is more connected with God. But it's actually wrong, because we have the same Holy Spirit as the bishop has. But because he spent much more time with God, he is more developed, more mature. That doesn't mean a person who is getting into that dating time, he or she should be really good Christians, by the way. So if you are started dating or you are not, and if you are not, this will benefit you even more, begin to be a true Christian sooner. Don't wait too long. Actually, when I give a talk to the high school kids, I tell them, pray for the girl that God will give you to marry in 15 years from now. Because somewhere in this universe, there is a girl for you, right? He's 15 years old. But somewhere there is a boy or a girl for that person. And I ask them, I want you, this is the most important decision in your life. more than a major, more than a state moving. So I want to say that please do not depend on psychology and counseling, which I respect, and ignore the cornerstones of Christian life. If you want to really know God's will, you need to know God. How do I choose based on a spiritual basis? So the spiritual judges all things, and he is judged by no one. One of the things I like when a girl comes to me and say, Uncle, I want to know, what do you think of this guy? So I start asking her questions. And sometimes she doesn't know, and I tell her, take time, come back and tell me. And one of the questions is can he lie easily? Can she lie easily? When a person lies for no reason, I mean, there is no reason to lie. That means the idea of God's fear, God's repentance is not bothering him, he's not busy with it. And if you want to choose a guy or a girl who you want to live a spiritual life, a Christian life with, you must be aware if they fear God. And fear God means, I don't care if he's a deacon or not. I don't care if she's a servant or not. I don't care if she's a choir leader or not. This is all external views. Because believe me, I can fake you to eternity by how good servant I am. And then you get married to me, and then I give you a horrible life. Why? Because I was an outsider person, and I knew how to play the system in a way. We don't want these people, but unfortunately it happens. So how do you research me? So one, frequent lying. If he made a mistake, let's say he cursed while he was driving, and you tell him, wow, you should have not done that. Say, oh, come on, everybody does that. Fine. Maybe before he said, oh my God, I cursed. I'm so sorry. So bad. Please, God, forgive me. In the car, he doesn't care if you're sitting or not. Okay. I mean, he made a mistake. I'm not saying anything. But the repentance he's busy with it. Okay. Is he guided by the church ideology or teaching or the Bible? Is he behaving based on what the Bible advises? Purity, integrity, honesty, kindness, justice, forgiveness, or he comes to church, he attends this, he does that. Don't give me those. Those are not how I judge people. But I judge based on, is he guided by the Bible or not? Because that's when you live with that person. That's what will appear later on. Because people may be servants, but for some reasons they become busy, they can't serve. Fine. And he may be a great Christian. But also, even though he couldn't come to serve, but he's still guided and he has the shoulders of the Bible, making him don't go outside. Is he attending the church to please you or to please your mom and dad? Or he attends the church because you see him praying, focusing, closing his eyes. He doesn't really care about who comes and who doesn't. He may not know all the hymns. It's okay. But in the same time, he is really fearing God. He knows that God is in liturgy. And when he prays or he fasts or he go for any of the sacraments, he does them in a fearful way, in an honoring, in a revering way. So those are questions. every guy and every gal should, when they meet a person, should be in their mind. And those are, you don't have to ask, I mean, how many times you have communion? It's not a checklist, but it's rather how do they conduct themselves? How do they live their lives? I'll tell you a story, and this happened in a different state. None of the stories will come from this state because this is my first time to serve here. But a guy who touched, not in a full sexual way, but he touched the girl who was dating, and she got very upset. And all of a sudden, she found him non-remorseful. He felt, oh, no, everybody does that. I mean, this is the least. We should do much more. And right away, she got the impression, this guy, the purity is not in his mind at all. There is no God in the car. God is not in the car with them, because that happened in the car. And she came to me crying, and I felt she's right. This is a guy who is not, he does not feel the presence of God with him. Somebody else could have done the same mistake, and he would feel very bad and remorseful and apologetic, and maybe he will go and confess and tell her, I did make a mistake, I really don't mean to do this anymore, and fine. It's cool. Both the same thing, but one fearing God and one doesn't. And it's up to you. I have seen many couples who say, we knew that it happened during engagement. We are 3 years into marriage. He's cheating on me now. Okay, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You knew it. It was evident in front of you. So I'm saying this because that's how you build the case for a spiritual sense. Now let's move to this second and third, will take much longer time. How do I choose based on the mind? And I want to make a disclaimer here. Some of the people are sitting in the church now, already are dating, and they may be in love with the person they are with. The problem, and I'm not saying I will just leave you without solution, but the problem is that the mind did not catch up with the heart. So I have a feelings towards her, but I'm not too convinced yet. But I'm going on and on and on, and I'm almost giving her the impression everything is fine. But I'm not yet here happy. I'm hesitant. I'm shaky. So if you have started dating and you reached even a level of kind of, I don't want affection, right away, go on your knees and start praying, know the Bible, get to confess and repent, because you want to catch up now. You are playing catch up. Number two, you have to slow down as much as possible your feelings for your mind to be either convinced or reject. Because remember, if your mind doesn't get convinced, you will be in a conflict. So how do we choose by the mind that is guided by the Spirit? And that's what the Bible said in 1 Timothy, that self-control. Nevertheless, she will be saved. She means the mother or the woman will be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith, love, holiness with self-control. So everybody knows this word, nis'al anhu. Let's ask about him. But what do you ask? And I'm going to give you a couple of very practical but very important pointers. The first question, I want you to ask the friends or the people who know him, is he loved? Is he admired? Is he respected? Is she looked up to? Does he or she has a major obvious defect? We know that everyone has defects and everybody likes to cover up. Normal. But if you ask about him, people will say, oh, no, 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 he's that. Or they will say, oh my God, he's the best in our group. He is gada. He is helpful. He is pure. He is chaste. He is a man. He's a good man. Or they will say, oh, don't talk about this girl. Oh, come on, please. Stay away from her. What happened? Oh, no, 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 no. We can't tell you, but it's really, every time this girl comes, a big feud has to happen. Everybody hates everybody because she comes in. Okay, you got the impression. So this is what we call asking about him. Do we have known problems about him or her? 4, what if I say Mark, Matthew, Jessica, whatever the name is, what is the first impression? What's the first impression that comes to mind? The first impression say, lovely, would love to be with him or her, serving everyone, helpful, whatever, or could be something bad. So these all are lists of when I tell you, ask about him. Number 2. Watch for the questions before the answers, meaning what we call informed discussion. So there should be some questions about, oh, can you talk to me more about how your home is? How you guys were brought up? How your mom deals with your dad, for example? Who does chores in your house? You'll be very surprised because maybe she will tell you that, oh, something like, for example, my mom does everything, dad doesn't do anything. For example, that's not good or bad. It's just for you to know the upbringing of the other person. What do you want to do in the future? Now you finished law school, and what do you want to do? Oh, I'm planning to be a judge. So that means you are going to study more, or you have to be, you cannot be in a private group, and whatever it is. I met couples that one of them will say she wants to be a master's degree, and then after the master's she wants to be a PhD, and then she may decide to have a baby by then. Now, he will say, but there has to be a limit to your ambitions. You can't keep taking degrees after degrees. So what I'm saying is, by you asking questions, all of a sudden, you may discover that you are not compatible. Because you are a content guy, you took your bachelor and whatever, but she is too ambitious, and all of a sudden you will find that the gap may get bigger and wider. So ask about what do they expect in the future, what type of ambitions. Maybe you will find a guy who's too ambitious in money. I want to buy this business, and after this business I want to buy this pharmacy, and after this pharmacy I want to buy this and this, and there is no ceiling to his contentment. He cannot be content. So by you asking questions, you will almost learn what is the person next to you is thinking. Ask about priorities and targets and objectives in life. What do you want to do? What is the first thing you want to do in the next 5 years? Tell me your priorities in the next 5 years. Where do you want to be? How do you see yourself? How do you see your family will be? Values. You don't have to ask, but you have to watch for values and defects. What type of value this girl is having? You find her, for example, very pure, very chaste, has integrity, laughs in a very beautiful way, loves people, doesn't talk bad about people. Watch for values. Tell me about what you do in a week. I met a couple that he refuses to go anywhere because he goes 5 days to the gym, each day 3 hours. So she wants him to go out. By the time he comes from the gym, he is too tired. They want to go out, they want to go to his family. At the end of the day, there was no time. So his priorities are clearly set. His biceps is priority. I mean, maybe after this, the triceps, the quadriceps, and whatever. Fine. I have no problem. But maybe I have a conflict with this because you are too invested in your muscles and you will not have time for anything else. For example, if you tell him, by the way, there's somebody sick and we need to go and visit him. Oh, can this wait? I know he's very sick. No, but I can't go, except but he can't get better for you to go to him. I mean, so all of a sudden you start learning that this person has a different plans and priorities, and the week is already filled with something that it's him alone or her alone. Number 3. When I say thinking how to be convinced that this person is from God through the mind, number 3 is the compatibility or the matching. Age is a funny factor because we don't know exactly what does this mean. I mean, whoever made up 10 years, 7 years difference, usually man is older. Okay, there's some logic to it. That doesn't mean it has to be strictly obliging. I know that the church has 7 years, I think, or something like that. But I have seen women older than men and beautiful marriages. There may be a medical reason for men to be a little older, but I can't say it breaks a marriage. I mentioned the upbringing. I mean, maybe I'll tell you a funny story. Those couple are not engaged anymore. He is a newcomer. A doctor just came from Egypt. She has been raised or born here or something like that. A pharmacist, I think. And somehow the priest or whoever connected them together. They sound like a nice couple. Start dating. They went out a couple of times. They like each other. And all of a sudden, they went out for dinner and she asked for a steak. Sorry, I'm bringing that in the middle of the Lent. And the waiter asked her, how do you eat it? She said, rare. The guy doesn't know what rare is. He asked for hammer, well done. His came the steak black, hers came bloody. And he looked at her and he put his fork and said, are you eating this? I said, yeah, I love my meat rare. Since I was young, I used to eat it this way. It's haram. The Bible says the cow has the soul in its blood. You cannot eat this. And this was one of so the problem here, none of them is wrong. Who cares about what you eat your meat? But the problem is the culture is completely different. And all of a sudden the gaps start to get bigger and bigger because he thinks of things in a way, she was raised for the last 25 years here. He is 32 years old and he just came. And all of a sudden, it's very difficult. None of them is bad. Each one alone is great. But mind, there's no way. Convince him or convince her that she is right for him. I have no problem with any type of education, but I have a problem with the level of knowledge. If I'm engaged to her, I'm going out with her, and she is very knowledgeable, and she sits with me and she starts making a language, And I can make any informed discussion with her. She's very intelligent, very bright. She brings nice discussions. And I'm just sitting talking about football and soccer and other things. And you know what I mean? The problem here is after a while, there is no communications because she lost interest talking to me because I'm not at her level. I may be doctor, but I'm not knowledgeable. I'm educated, but I can't run a discussion. So it's not how much years of, there is some correlation, but more importantly, am I able to converse in an intelligent, productive, exciting discussion? All of this, when you guys start dating, you need to watch for. The spiritual level, I don't mean it how many liturgies you attend and how many, no, but someone, for example, love to serve and love to be with Sunday school classes, and the other one completely doesn't want this. There will be a breakup later on because you want to come in, you want to spend 4 hours in the church, and he wants to go out and spend. I mean, okay, if you are already married, we can work something out, but if you are not married, think about it because your mind will start saying, is he the right guy? Okay, number 4. We are still thinking how to choose based on the mind, guided by the Spirit. What is the opinion of other people? I've almost mentioned that before, but please listen what your mom thinks of him, what your sister thinks of her, what your friends say about him or about her. Because remember, especially if those people are very sincere and they care about you and there is no competition. It's not like we are all competing for the same guy or competing for the same girl. Then usually their advices are valuable. If your mom tells you, since you start dating this girl, you're always angry, you're always upset, you stopped going to church, oops, something's wrong here. Your mom is not wrong. You are dating the wrong person. Because since you dated that person, you deteriorated. So watch out. Think again. Your sister will tell you, since you start dating that guy, you have become wearing things that you don't always wear. You do some behavior you are doing, you are not used to that. Listen to your sister. Again, there is no interest, right? I mean, she has no interest except your own. Respect those opinions. Consider and evaluate. Number 3 and the last one, and then I'll listen if you have any questions. How do I choose by emotions? How do I know my emotions are actually right? I'm attracted to that guy, but I'm not sure if he's the right guy or not. Again, remember, it should be always guided by the Holy Spirit, meaning prayers, fasting, Bible, Abuna, and so on. One of the important things that everybody knows it, but we think it's nothing, how comfortable, what is the level of comfort, how happy, are your comfort increasing or decreasing? Are you getting happier or sadder? I know sadder is English. Are you more anxious or content? Are you getting, are you happy? I think the word happy, I keep bringing it, but it's very important. When you go out, are you coming back happy? Or every time you come back, you're, I know what's wrong, I'm not happy. That's something I would worry about. If you were happy, and then I know this couple who they were dating for 6 months and then they got engaged. And then they came to me and the girl was saying, both are servants, different state, of course. She said, since we got engaged, we both are trying to make excuses not to go out. with each other. It's a very dangerous sign. Because if I'm trying to find an excuse not to go out with you now, while we are still engaged and no responsibilities, slow down. Why? And if there is a reason, correct it. Maybe one of you got upset from the other, maybe the parents are fighting with each other, then good. I'm glad there is a reason, we can resolve it. But if there is no reason, watch out. That means your feelings are not happy. You are trying to tell yourself, because believe me, I wish if you tell me there will be no other marital problems you will go to because people are happy with each other, it will be the best day in my life. The problem today, so many marriages, they knew during engagement that they shouldn't get married. Can you imagine? Many marriages are aware that they should have not get married. And all of a sudden, we have a problem. And when we have a problem, what can we do now? Then we start copying and pasting and doing, but it's not the same. The very important slide, the coming one. Be careful with too much anxiety, but also too much fascination. I don't like when I meet a girl, I ask her how things are with so-and-so. Uncle, he is the most loving, kind, saintly, calm down. I mean, she's too fascinated, too invested in, that there is no way she can see anything. She's too overwhelmed. He is handsome, he is this, his mother, his daughter, his wife. Too fascinated is dangerous. I remember very well, Amba Musa, may God keep him many years ago, when I was engaged and was talking to him, I said, how much fascinated you should be when you are convinced this is the right person. Ali, the best is not to be fascinated. Just if your mind is convinced and you are praying and you are happy and growing, the love will come, will grow. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but the problem today, people are looking for so much feeling, so much emotions, and so much romance. And all of a sudden that conceals, obscures so many under the table until we get married, and 3 years later, we start seeing, how come I didn't see that? It was obvious. My sister told me, my mom told me, my friend told me. I was against everybody because because you were too blinded. Too much affection or too much romance or too much passion, wasting time in laughter and meetings and friends, and what is the color of the tablecloth and what is the color of the rose. Do you remember any wedding you are attending during the last years? What was the color of the tablecloth? Do you know how much time that wastes during courting or dating? Enormous amount. Is it beige? Is it off-white? Who cares? Whatever. But the problem is, it takes time from something more important. Okay? And of course, I have to mention it because I did mention initially, lack of boundaries, sexually, of course, physical touches. Believe me, it breaks the purity and the sanctity of this amazing sacrament when a person allows him or herself to cross the boundary and it's not the same. Of course, there is repentance, of course, but believe me, I have seen marriages afterwards when they did cross the line, each one is doubting the other later on. Because she allowed this to happen, And she's very pure, but he says, now I'm sick, and she allowed this to happen before. Would she allow this to happen now? And the woman, Ghalbana, doesn't think, but his mind is playing games with him because, so please give yourself a big break by respecting the other person's body. It's exactly like this altar, and this altar needs to be covered, not touched, not played with, until the right moment when the priestly entrance happens. This is the true sanctity of our sacrament. So I want to end by saying this type of relationship should be in the light. There is the Bible, Abuna, the parents, and God's mind. Glory be to God forever. Amen. Any questions? Okay, thank you. How do you know people are not lying when you ask about him? I feel people sometimes lie. So, I mean, you have to know whom you are asking. I mean, if you are asking about a person you like to date, or he's proposing to you, or he wants to, consider a serious relationship, you have to pick whom you ask. And when you ask, you have to also weigh in the answers, because maybe there is an illegitimate response that happens there because there may be jealousy. So you have, I'm not saying you need to be wise, but how do you know? You choose the right people and use your wisdom and keep praying. How can you go about moving on from a path? This is very important. So every single person is allowed to make mistakes, but not anyone is allowed to live in the mistake. So if you had a relationship that wasn't successful, you are the luckiest and blessed person because you are out of it. Thank God for this. Because you could have been today miserably married. So don't regret that. And don't keep living in that past. Enough. God is the God of new beginnings. Number two, don't keep remind yourself with your failures. You failed, but you are not a failure. You made a mistake, but you are not a failure. Go on. Be available. Let people know you. Know other people. Pray about it. Number three, I urge every single one, if you ever break up with someone, don't use social media to hurt that person. He is the son of God. She is the daughter of God. No business for anyone to write bad things about the person because it didn't go well. You can't imagine when I know this, regardless of where it is in the community of Coptic churches, I get so upset because this is my daughter. How about God? How about God? How does he feel that you are writing, she is this, her mother is this? Come on, go on. So those three things. One, don't thank God that you are outside this failure. Two, do not label yourself as a failure. You may have failed. Learn from your mistakes. Now you know who you are and what you like and what you don't like. Three, please do not use social media as a platform to hurt others. How do you go about choosing between multiple people who have expressed interest in you? So do not date multiple people same time. It's not fair. If I am the father of one of those kids, I will not feel comfortable that you are dating my daughter and another person's daughter and her daughter. So number one, do not do that. Number two, pray that God, wait and pray that God may reveal to you whom you like more, or what you found interesting as a personality in one of them, in a group. But don't تعلق. Don't go out with this to the Monday and Wednesday and you write, this is Samantha today and the next one is I know who, and so no. But so please be careful. You may be interested, there may be many people interested in you, but you really need to wait and choose whom you think you are interested in. Okay, so maybe the three of us here are interested, as three girls interested in him, and he knew, and all of a sudden he's afraid to lose one of us. I'm making three girls here, so you will never imagine that I'm talking about a person here. So it's not fair. So what should he do is to wait, know us through a group, discussions, whatever. Don't go out with the three of us same time or simultaneously, I mean, not same time, and wait and pray. Yes.
So if a girl has three boys, it's the other way around. That usually happens more often. More frequently.
So that's what I did, I think. I said, you are the man and we are three girls, right? Isn't that what you're saying? Yeah, so, or you're saying the reverse? The reverse?
If it's one female and three males.
Okay, so that girl is interested in the three. That's what you're saying?
No, the three are interested in each
other. Yeah, but I mean, that's, don't worry about that, because in other words, you know why? Because it's up. In other words, it's a good point, but I feel like this young lady, if she really follows the directives of God's plan in her life, she should not also date three people same time. She has to pray and wait. She has to look at each one within the context. Maybe she will start asking the mind, not the feelings, the mind to work. She start asking about Mark, Matthew, and Max, and she start asking who they are, and then she find that Max is completely different than her for many reasons. So she drops that person. In other words, don't let the emotion start, because if the emotion starts, you will be in confusion. But the mind doesn't matter. We can choose, like as if you are applying for three jobs. I know it's completely different. You start looking and what suits you more, the mind. But you don't have to go and work in each job a month for you to know. That's not fair. And nobody will allow that. Should I take action, first step to talk to a guy whom... Yes, let me tell my daughters, and I know I am a little bit different than some servants. I have no problem for my daughters to show interest in a boy. And let me explain to you where is that coming from. Many boys, unfortunately, were rejected more than once. And they feel uncomfortable trying to go again. And I'm speaking on behalf of the boys in America, by the way, not in Delaware. So nobody thinks that one of the boys spoke to me. I just arrived at 4 o'clock. And I was in the liturgy from 3 to 5, and then just kidding. So because I was rejected 2 times before, I liked this girl very much, but she probably would reject me. So unfortunately, many good men in the Coptic community are afraid to make the move. And that's why there is no problem for girls, in my opinion, as a father and as a servant, that you show interest in the boy, and girls know how to do it in a decent way, in a classy way, without too much being spilling herself or anything. He will see that there is a positive reinforcement. He will see that she doesn't mind that he talks, and it breaks some of the frustrations, disappointments the men have today. I speak to many men in the country, and believe me, it's a common issue that a lot of men now are afraid to make another move because of experiences. How do you feel about long distance relationship, whether a state away or a country? So I have to accept it because it's a reality. Do I like it? Not much, but I have seen good things, by the way. I've seen very good things from it. But it has to have some regulations, meaning he cannot be just come to engage my daughter. I am somewhere in Alexandria. And then 6 months later, he's coming to see my daughter. And then 6 months later, he's coming to take my daughter. What? I didn't know you. That's not fair. If there has to be a distant relationship, there has to be some sort of sacrifices from both parties. And the family, maybe the girl has to travel. As long as her mom with her, no problem. The boy may have to take off from work, even unpaid. Has to be at least every 3 months a meeting for at least a week. Every 3 months, at least a week. Plus the calls and other things. There has to be a father of confession. And I prefer that the father of confession one, not two. So even if he is in California or she is in Alexandria, the father of confession here or there manages both. So there has to be some regulated plan. Is it okay for the girl to make? Yes. Is it okay for the girl to make the first move? Please do. Because I'm telling you, we have so many great men and great ladies. If they knew each other, they will be the happiest couples. And what is holding us is our Middle Eastern culture that has nothing to do with Christianity. خلاص has nothing to do with Christianity. There is no problem. Christ will never say انت بنت ازاي تعملي كده. ربنا ما عندوش دي. He doesn't have this. How can I be? But moms will tell you and dads will tell you and Geddu will tell you. But if it's done in a classy way, in a decent way, in the way I'm putting it, because believe me, you are not doing that with anyone. This is a special man, and you want God to show you to him. So if you have to do a little bit of move, there is nothing wrong with that. تفضل.
I think like the problem will be on the other hand with the man. Whenever the girl can come and tell him, like we need as a man or man, we need to understand like there is no problem with the girl to show that
Yeah.
she likes.
You are a man, you are married. So I'm going to ask a question because it will never happen to you. Will you, yeah, I know you have a daughter. I saw your kids, beautiful kids. Will you have a problem if your daughter comes to you or to your wife in the future? Dad, there is a guy with me at work. I like him very much, but I'm not sure if he noticed me. I don't want to go and tell him, but is it okay, for example, I tell him, I'm going for coffee. Is it okay I bring you another cup? By the way, I'm going out to walk outside. Let me know if you need something or you want to come with me to walk. What do you think? Dad, you are dad. Mom, what do you think? Believe me, guys, I'm not asking you to say, ما تبصلي انت ما تبصليش ليه؟ أنا مش قصدي كده. بس I'm saying in a classy, nice, clever, decent, beautiful way. Do men have a problem with this? Don't think so. Yes, Habibti.
One of my friends she went to a guy and she told him, I like the way you think and I think you can be a good match for you. Would you like to have coffee? And they started and they are now very happy couple.
Yeah, she was a little bit forceful though, but
That she made the first move.
I know, have you seen the Harry Potter movie when she puts something in the drink? She probably did that in the coffee. Yeah. How can I be patient until I find someone, especially when everyone around me is getting engaged? This is a very true and real issue. I am seeing lots of my daughters who I love and respect and I groom to become amazing ladies. Many of them are reaching 38 and all of that and not getting married. And some of their friends, they have children. I know how they feel. I talk to them. I'm so connected with many of my female servants, and I know that this is a struggle. And the only thing I tell them, it's better to be single and happy rather than married and miserable. Because there is so many who said, Mom told me to marry anyone because there is no way to stay like this, and now she is cursing the day that somebody pushed her to marry a guy that she really would have loved to be away. Many of my female servants who are, they said, you know what comes or doesn't come. They go to missions, they go to trips, they go to serve, they go to many things. They're very accomplished. And you know what? If it happens, it happens. Doesn't. And usually, if you lose the eagerness and the waiting, it will come. But while you are waiting and searching, I mean, I just got while I'm coming last night, one of my female servants that I spoke of in one of the states, and she's sending me an invite for marriage. I was so happy because for years she was taking care of her mom and she refused many relations, and all of a sudden God sent, and she's 37 or 38, something like that. And I was so happy, and I told her I will come wherever you are, but I will come. But so don't lose hope, but in the same time, don't trade cheap. Yani, don't say I'm nothing. Anyone is fine. As a girl, how much am I supposed to find a person? Do I just wait or take an action? Take an action. If you know how to take an action, take an action. And maybe you should go to the coffee lady in the back and learn a couple of actions. Depends which coffee, Bardo. How to deal with people that give mixed signals. Yeah. So this is a good question, and unfortunately a common question. I know I will give some excuses, but there are no excuses to some. I am a man who was rejected a couple of times. This girl, so I don't point to anyone, is a beautiful girl. I don't think she will like me. So I come, I smile, I shake hands, I keep asking, how are you, which church? And then I said, no way she will accept me. Next time she meets me, I'm avoiding her completely. And she says, what's wrong with this guy? We were talking, I want to know him better. Now he doesn't want to talk. The reason for some men doing this, and I'm giving the excuse, but then I'll take the excuse out, that unfortunately, a lot of girls can intimidate boys by too much education and bigger family. A lot of boys sometimes, not in here, but they are single, they don't have family, they have to work mediocre jobs while they are studying. It's a lot of struggle. And some of them recently come, some of the girls are here all the time. Their support system in the family is much bigger than the boys. So what happened is the boy retracts. And when he retracts, he leaves an empty and mixed message. And she doesn't know what to do. So now I give the excuse to the boys. Now I want to take it out. Men needs to be decisive. And men needs to be men. Unfortunately, not this men, by the way. I'm talking about, again, I just came at 4 o'clock, I attended liturgy at 5, and then so I don't know anyone. When I meet men alone, I am very tough because unfortunately men do not value themselves well. And they feel very intimidated and they feel less than adequate and they don't wanna continue the path. And they feel there's no way she will accept me. Although when I speak to the girls, who said I will not accept him? I am okay with him like this and this and that. And they are humble enough, they don't. But unfortunately, there are other girls who change the boy's opinion. So I don't know if I have a solution because it's really men have to be more decisive and take a decision. And if they get rejected, unfortunately, it can happen, but they have to take it in strides. Last question. What's the limit for physical touch? I have seen guys very touchy and hug many girls. Okay, so if you're talking about, boys and girls hugging each other because they are in same church, they grew up together. Personally, again, if I just came out from Egypt the last 3 years, I said, what's going on in Delaware? But it's, you guys grew up together. What is the hug will do? And I personally, I don't see that this is of any significance. I see bishops and priests doing that all the time, and it's a different culture. We cannot think how we think in Egypt when, hi, how are you? No, we don't do that. It's a different culture. We don't mean any sexual touches by us doing that. But if you are asking the physical touch during dating, then I would say be very careful what you allow yourself to do. Be very careful, because believe me, it will haunt you in the future. Number 2, this girl is not yours. She is Christ's, and she belongs to her Father, not to you. So you cannot take something that doesn't belong to you. Number 3, if you be pure now, God will bless you tremendously in your life. If you take something that doesn't belong to you and you become unchaste now, believe me, something blessed will be taken from you. And I don't know how to define it, but I have seen it. So the person who puts boundaries, and the boundaries can be discussed with the father of confession. I don't want to talk about it, but certainly any physical sexual touches should be avoided during courting, especially A, you may not continue. B, he or she is not yours, belong to his father or her father and God. 3, remember the blessing. Thank you very much. Any other things? Yes. Fadl.
I just totally disagree with the idea of the girl doing first move at all. I think it's against all the rights. It's first of all, if he's not man enough, bold enough to go and do the first move, she shouldn't do the first move because he's not a good guy. He's still not a man enough. He had a trauma. He has to fix it. That's one thing. The second thing is, I think it's mixing or it's adding to the feminism idea that girls are like boys. You should actually be teaching that girls are not like boys and boys are not like girls.
You have children?
I'm not there.
Thank you. So I don't have girls, by the way, but I have so many daughters, but I don't have physically my own daughters. When you are a father who have as many daughters as mine, you will understand where I come from. Believe me, what do I answer a very good person who is 30 or 32 and she likes the person, but he doesn't see her? What do you tell her? Tell her stay like this, and years are passing and he's a good guy, and maybe she is the most suitable. So while I understand where you come from, believe me, and you represent a very large scale of people, I am not disagreeing that there are people exactly think this way. I think the difference between what I said and what you said is I have unfortunate experience of really living with people who wants to make him see her. Maybe you yourself, I want you to see my daughter, but you are busy. I'm not saying you are bad, you are just busy. So all what I'm asking her, I'm not asking her to come and kiss you. I'm asking her to appear in your pathway. That's all. I want you to notice her. That's all. How can this be ungodly? How can this be unmerciful? If you tell me culturally is wrong, I'm not disagreeing. But I'm not sure if I have to follow the Middle Eastern culture when I chose to immigrate and I applied to the visa here. There is something happened when we all decided to immigrate. We kept our Christianity and our Orthodoxy and our Coptic. But whether we must keep our Middle Eastern culture and everything, I'm not sure. Do I have to worry about you envying me because I have a white car and you have a black car? Do I have to worry about Ul-As in Filghatas? I don't care about these things. So I fully see your point, believe me, and I respect it very much. It's just, I think, if you have seen what I have seen and dealt with how much pain there is, you probably would be a little different. Any other questions? Yes.
How would you advise us to seek a relationship during like maybe significant life changes that we know that may come ahead?
Sorry, can you explain it again?
If we have significant life changes
Oh.
we know that's going to come ahead, how do you advise like seeking a relationship?
Yeah, it's better. Okay, the question is, if you have a significant life event, how do you advise me in pursuing a relationship? I would advise you to wait. Don't seek a relationship when you are coming out of something traumatic. Wait. I will never forget this guy who his mother died, God forbid, and 3 months later, he was in a very failed courting relationship. He was looking for a mother in the young lady who is dating, and she couldn't give him the kindness, the giving, unconditional giving of a mom giving. And at the end, they couldn't continue. But it was very clear, by the way, very clear to him when he spoke to me. He said, I was looking for my mom. I wasn't looking for a mate. So I'm just giving an example. If you have a life-changing event, give it some time. Pray. If you read Matthew 19, which is the gospel we read in matrimony, said God healed them first. And then he started talking, if a man leaves his wife, and why did the gospel decided to put that word, God healed them first? We need to be healed before I start dating her. I am carrying a burden, and now I'm coming to know her and I don't know myself. So we need to know ourselves. We need to be healed from whatever trauma, whatever hurt we have before I start knowing his daughter, because it's not fair. Any other questions? Yes.
Dr. Singh already mentioned that we choose to migrate. Our kids, the young men and young women already here in another culture. With everything you have said apply on potential partners from another culture, will the approach be the same, the thinking will be the same?
Yeah. So I want to maintain the Christian culture. Doesn't matter with me, in my opinion, except the Christian Orthodox culture. Must be. And by the way, we have amazing mixed marriages today in the Coptic churches. If you go to California, for example, there are beautiful American Orthodox Coptic churches that half of the church is white or black or Asian or whatever. What happened here? What happened? They love the church. Very soon in CYC, we are coming with a movie. I called it Copticated. There is no word called Copticated. I made it up. But the idea of it is we have the story of 4 people who came to Coptic church, not because to marry. It happens later they marry, but they loved the Orthodoxy. They loved the Coptic church. 3 men and 1 woman, 1 Irish, 1 Albanian, 1 Asian, I think Mandarin speaking. But it's very enlightening, and I think that will happen more and more in the future. Your children, there's a good chance that they will be marrying from non-Copts. As long as Christ is in it. I have been in a very good discussions with several blacks married to Copts and excellent marriages. Excellent. Culturally, you can't imagine the difficulties. And that's why I tell them to go to a different Coptic church. Not every Coptic church can accommodate mixed marriages in the context I'm saying. But if it's a good youth-oriented church, these people don't see skin color from whatever. They love them and they are fine. So as long as Christianity is steadfast, as long as the sacraments are preserved, as long as the baptism and communion, those are the sacred cornerstones.
So if the boy is attraction to the girl first, not to the church first, would she tell him, okay, then they would have to be Orthodox, I have to teach you about the Orthodox?
Oh, that's actually the routine now. Every church has between 6 months to a year of lessons. For the pre-baptism before they baptize. So we do it all the time. I think there was a hand up. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for the
Thank you.
I think I realized I might have just missed the second part of the mixed messages question. So we to give grace when a guy is feeling nervous and then pulls back. But what was the second part? I think when we're not doing it.
Oh, I think I was saying one of them is the guy is giving mixed messages. The second is I was saying men need to be stronger and decisive rather than afraid, because there is maybe a very good potential in that relationship. What do you think of mixed marriages? So exactly like حضرتك سألتي. Yes. Hi.
These are my kids, so I get this question all the time, and I wanna hear what's the right hand. So a lot of them are becoming doctors, doing all of this career stuff, right? And sometimes they have to travel for residency, they have to do all this stuff. They met someone they like, right? So what is the approach here? Should I wait until I'm completely stable?
Oh.
And where I am? Or should, it's like I struggle a little bit with this.
Yeah, thank you. So I personally, if you find a very good person, and even if you are still 22 years old, I don't mind as long as you know that you still have years. She knows you have years. Her parents, your parents, father of confession, church. I don't tell people don't stop your feelings. It doesn't actually. I don't think there is a meaning to the word stop your feelings. I think we comfort ourselves by telling people that. But as long as they are supervised, like we had people that I can tell you who later on, because you are from Queens initially, that I watched them since first year of, he was medical school, she was pharmacy, a year older, he was a year older, and I watched them throughout the 7 or 6 years until they got married. I was supervising them, I gave them books, I was talking to them on a monthly or bi-month or something like that. And believe me, they are amazing couple and both are serving. I can't make this a general rule. As long as people know the limits, the boundaries, the godliness, the purity, as long as people know that our destiny is in heavens and we need to please God, as long as they know that my feelings may grow and I need to control myself, I don't want to hurt a person that I may not marry at the end, then it's being supervised. Is that your answer also? Okay, good. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, could I just do a follow-up to that second question?
Yeah.
Is there anything you think you would advise us to do to help nurture this confidence that our guys have?
Yeah. So the question is, how do we nurture the confidence? I would love, and I love when I see men studying and working hard to improve themselves. Because a lot of men, they sell themselves short. I want you to strive. I want you to work hard. I want you to read and study. Number two, I want men to be more knowledgeable, not just about the church, everything. Read, listen, attend, watch. Because the person who is more knowledgeable and more enlightened attracts the person in front of him because his personality is attractive. Number three, grow in godliness. Unfortunately, and this is men and women, and I don't mean to embarrass anyone, pornography is killing our youth in this generation. And again, I can speak out of bitterness. I have excellent marriages are failing because of pornography. Men, unfortunately, we don't have Coptic statistics, but we have American statistics to say it's becoming an endemic. And what happened is the guy walks into a relationship already addict and he can't stop. And somebody advised him that when you get married, you will stop. And of course, it's a very wrong advice because you never advise the sin to get a sacrament. You have to repent. So they get married, and after a couple of years, the marriage is annulled because there is no unity. Somebody is actually doing adultery, but with the laptop. So we need to be repenting. We need to be strong and stop pornography and whatever other habits. This is weakening our men, weakening our manhood, weakening even our fathers. Many dads in homes cannot advise their kids because they themselves know they are weakened by it. It's like I'm smoking and I'm supposed to tell my kid don't smoke. I feel uncomfortable talking about it. And unfortunately, many fathers are doing the same thing. And now we can't advise our children, our men, our young men, youth. So I think those 3 or 4 reasons will help us increase our confidence in our youth. We have amazing men. I will conquer the world with them, but they need to do these things.
Sorry, forgive me.
No problem. طب امشيهم وخلينا.
I'm really just also to follow up a little bit also on that. It's like, is there anything you would advise for any women in a situation that it could if it's a branch from like their like a guy's indecisiveness or playing or something like. Is there anything you would advise?
It's a very good question. She's asking, how do you advise women if they are getting mixed messages? And it may be because the men are indecisive. If you get to those girls and they talk to you or to talk to any servant, please tell them to be patient. Many of us men who were rejected a couple of times need encouragement, need good signals, need good smiles. I'm not asking you to do anything out of order. I'm just asking you to encourage me. Show me that you're not scary. Do not intimidate me with your master's degree. And I know if you are willing to accept someone less in education, don't keep boasting with how many degrees you have and how many thousands of whatever dollars you have and how many. I mean, why are you doing this to me? I am a guy who is doing my best to survive, and I don't have that ability. Why you keep talking about it? So if girls stop intimidating, stop boasting with things that are vain and are not important, give me some praises and encourage me, I think things will get better. That's it. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much. I'm going to be around if anyone needs anything. Thank you.